I am the most masculine man that most of you have ever seen or heard or experienced on your phone. It's true. It's undeniable. It's undebatable. If this were a court case, I would automatically win. Now, let's get to business. I received a comment from a very famous, speak of famous, did I even say famous? He's more famous than I am, Baldcafe. You know, I did a video a while back basically labeling myself as the 4th most popular YouTuber on the planet who largely focuses on hair loss. But Baldcafe is more popular than I am. Nothing but respect for Baldcafe. But check out this comment. So I made a video called Most Popular Hair Loss YouTube Channels, Baldcafe. And then he left a comment recently. And here's what it said. Quote, "How did I not see this before? We will definitely have the head honcho of hair loss on the Baldcafe podcast. Thanks for the kind words, Sir Shell." And then I responded, "You and I both are living legends of hair loss, my friend." So I'm making this video because I've had people over the past couple months like talk about the fact that apparently Baldcafe said he was going to have me with him on a video or whatever. I hear about that in the comments, and so apparently there's confirmation from Baldcafe himself that he does want to do that. I think it could be pretty interesting because just like with Max Da Silva, who's also more popular than me on his hair loss channel, what's interesting is I have one of the most popular hair loss channels in the world on YouTube, and yet I'm not bald. I've got some mild balding situation, but no one in real life ever looks at me as a guy who's balding. That's it. Can you imagine I'm a real person? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is what my life is like. Monday through Friday. I'm taking kids to school. I'm driving my Jeep 20 miles to my job. I go into my 6-story building and I do HR, recruiting, sales. That's what I do for a living, is I help place people with jobs for a living. It actually is a very good way to make a living, but I've got 12 years experience doing it. So of course I'm going to be paid well for it and enjoy it. I'm very confident in it. And some of you right now are like, this guy's suddenly boring all of a sudden. He's actually talking about himself as a real person, not some entertainer. Exactly. I'm a real person. Nobody cares about that though. Nobody cares when I make videos that aren't about hair loss. I get it. Only a quarter of you actually care that I have a real heart and a real family and a real life. That's all boring, right? Supply and demand, talk about hair loss. So yes, with that being said, how could it be that I have this much hair and to be so popular about YouTube hair loss? Well, it makes more sense when you are bald, you know. But I'm here to help the people more than anything. Here's what I'm doing. I'm helping younger guys that fear that they will go bald. And see, the thing about that is, if we're looking at this from a marketing perspective, that's perfect because that makes me always relevant. There are always going to be younger guys who wonder and fear and have anxiety. Am I going to go bald? And that lasts for a long time. That lasts from like teenage years easily until you turn about 35, where that's the point in your life, whether you have hair or not, you don't even care anymore because it's taken that long of your life to figure out who you are. When you don't know who you are, stupid things bother you. Like stupid people bother you when you don't know who you are yet. So, and I think I shared this story recently on a video, but I was driving out of my neighborhood and this lady in this red convertible car, like I was pulling up to the 4-way stop, and as I was moving it into first gear and putting it in the clutch, I was getting close to stop the Jeep. And then she just starts honking the horn and speeds through like 35 miles an hour. And this is a residential neighborhood with like sidewalks and with she just speeds through and then lifts both of her fingers up and like flips everybody around her off, even though it was literally just me at the 4-way stop, just double fist flipping everybody off while honking the horn. Now, obviously, she had some stuff going on in her life. She had some major issues. But imagine if I weren't 35 and had the life experience and emotional intelligence I've experienced at this point in my life. Imagine I might get offended. Well, no, F you, honk horn, flip her off. Well, I'm gonna put this on Facebook. Okay. Okay, everybody. So this lady in a red car, she just came by and she like totally flipped me off, but and she ran the stop sign and lame. Do you think a man who's 38 years old cares about something stupid like that? But see, when you're experienced in life, you know who you are. You do not let things bother you like you did before. It doesn't matter if I wake up bald tomorrow. I'm still the same person. And that's my message. My message is to not really bald guys. See, that's the thing. Maybe Baldcafe is in a different situation because he and Max Da Silva, because they don't actually, I guess, have the hair on top, whereas I do. So they have an audience for that. I have an audience for those guys that are freaking out that they will end up in that situation. And I'm here to say, even if you did, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing, because then you could actually face your fear and it wouldn't be hanging over you. But again, from a marketing perspective, my channel is perfect for that demographic, which is a lot of the world who will worry from their teenage years, maybe that's right, a solid 20 years maybe, right? From the time they're 15 to the time they're 35, worrying, oh, am I gonna go bald? Well, guess what? You're not gonna know until you're 35. 35 is the defining year on whether or not you're going to be aggressively balding or not. By that point, the paradox, the irony, is that by that point, you've already experienced so much rejection in your life. Do you know how much rejection I've experienced in my life? A lot. Here's a funny story. I recently told my wife this. I met my wife when actually I was, she and I were like 25, 26 when we met. October 5th, actually. So that date's coming up when we've known each other. We met in 06, so yeah, 13 years we've known each other. But back in college, there was this girl that I was very much into. I really thought this girl might be the one, all right? And so I got to know her and all that stuff, talking to her, and I'm like, okay. She told me that she was never allowed to eat like processed food growing up. She never got to have a corn dog. So I thought, haha, I'm in college, I'm gonna drive down to Walmart, I'm gonna buy a box of corn dogs, and I'm gonna go tap on her window, at 8:30 at night and say, hey, here's a surprise for you. So I did that. I thought, man, this is great. This is gonna be my way of like really showing I listened, I cared. This is gonna be the way that I get this girl to really like me beyond just this kind of quirky guy she knows from being an English major, because that's what I have my degree in. So plan went accordingly. The corn dogs were well accepted. And everything I did after that, nothing ever happened though. She just ultimately didn't think of me like that. Despite me being thoughtful and getting corn dogs, she didn't care. So I told my wife about that. I said, you know what though? Obviously, I'm glad I have you instead. This worked out the way it should have, and that's one of many rejections I've faced in my life to get where I need to be now, where I've been happily married 11 years and have a great family and a great job. But my life has mainly been rejections more than anything to get to that success that I started finally finding at age 35. Because even for me, for my actual job, I'm making almost double what I made even 2 years ago. So I think that's what happens for a lot of men. By the time you're 35, your life starts making sense and coming together. But what if about a guy who loses all his hair on top by 20? Well, he has had to face more struggles than a guy like me. So in some ways, the more struggles you face that you can survive, the more you can be alive to tell the story. Hey, I do have a good life. I have no hair on top, but it actually didn't hold me back on off. And that's the thing. In real life, I know 0 bald guys who aren't happy with their life. The older you get, it doesn't matter about your hair. And I know in real life, all the bald guys I know who even went bald early, it's not like they're all alone or had to really like settle for some person they weren't attracted to or something like that. It doesn't actually work that way, because again, confidence sells. Confidence makes you attractive. So there is actually this paradox of how the curse becomes a blessing if you have to face more adversity earlier on. So I think it's not necessarily a disadvantage to go bald young, but that's coming from a guy who didn't go bald young. But what I'm telling you is, age 35 is everything. That's when you actually know who you are, and you can laugh at yourself about the things that you're not good at, because you know that you're good at. I'm good at recruiting people. I'm good at HR and sales. I'm good at those things. Did I know that when I was 17? Absolutely not. I didn't know that until I was in really my mid-20s. And then it took another decade of doing that to really build the confidence that I have in that thing. But that's my thing. You may not know what your thing is. I didn't know what my thing was. I only went to college and got an English degree because I didn't know what else to do. I was so bad at math and science. Hey, I always made 100 on my spelling test. How about I have an English degree? And it led to me ending up in HR and sales and recruiting. But ultimately, I'm talking to you more about unknowns and rejections that led me here. So ultimately, the best thing that you can do is turn 35 years old, meaning that you've been rejected so many times. You've taken so many risks and failed. You've succeeded a lot less than you failed. Age 35. Whether you're bald or not, it won't matter by that point. But imagine if you had this mindset when you were 15 and didn't have to spend the next 20 years watching my videos, which just completely repeat themselves over and over. But yeah, with all that being said, hey, Baldcafe, I don't even know how it works. I don't even know what we're supposed to do. But I think it could be really interesting to have me on your channel, because I think we're largely different in as far as the type of audience we're catering to. I think it could be really relevant. And it'd be an honor to be on your channel. Again, you're a lot more popular than I am. And I think you're a lot more legit than I am. Because ultimately, I don't know that this is really a channel about hair loss. It's about reinventing masculinity and understanding what it means to be attractive. And hair is not part of that equation. When women are asked the top 10 things that make a man attractive, most of their answers aren't even about his physical appearance. They're about, he can make me laugh, he can take care of me, he can treat me well, he's confident. And if anything, a few of the items will be about their look, the man's looks, but hair loss, his hair is not in the top 10. And I know that. I know what actually makes men attractive, which either being confident or pretending to be that you are, no one knows the difference. I'm a salesman for a living. It was so funny. Yesterday, actually this morning, at work, because basically I sell jobs, basically. Like, people apply for jobs, and then I tell them about the job, and I send them for an interview, and I do their background check, and I get them hired. But sometimes what's funny is, I'm so good at my job that every time I get like 15 to 20 jobs done, I don't necessarily like do a lot of research. Like, okay, what's all that? Often the job opens up, I get a call, hey, I'm calling about that job in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oh yeah, well, that job, and I'm just reading the details off of it, acting like I know all about it, and I don't. I'm faking confidence, and I'm one of the best people on my sales team nationwide because of that, month after month. It's not a coincidence. Fake confidence sales. Because fake confidence is confidence if no one can tell the difference. It's a matter about being attractive in the way that people are actually attracted to you. This does not matter. Jason Statham, however you say his name, good looking guy. You know what? My next video will just be about him because he's so good looking. Your comments belong right here.